All right, I think it's high time to start with the topic for today. This was proposed by Dwayne last time. Dwayne, you said you were interested in anoretic degrees, but I decided to expand it a little bit because the anoretic degree, the so-called anoretic degree, is just one of the many interesting degrees of the zodiac that we call special degrees or dominant, or there are many names for them. But today, of course, we won't be able to touch on everything. I know you've got a presentation, so I'll give you a chance to present it just after I say a few words of what I found out about this topic this week. It was totally new to me, to be honest, apart from a few bits and pieces I had read in Rudyard's work and elsewhere. So maybe you've got more to tell us about this topic, of how important individual degrees of the zodiac, each one of those 360, could be in the natal chart and in predictive astrology, such as looking at transits and progressions, solar arc, and so on. So later we can look at charts and see I have selected those of you that have either the 0 degree of a sign represented by a planet in their chart or some important point, so which is the first degree, or the last degree, the anoretic degree, 29, between 29 and 30, and a few other things that I'll show you as we go along. But first of all, I wanted to show you a quote by the good old Rudyard. Maybe you already saw that on my Facebook page earlier today. So he says, the degree is not merely a subdivision of the zodiacal sign, now that every sign has 30 degrees, or of the whole zodiac. It stands as an astrological element alone and in a position of supreme, though little understood significance. The degree is the most mysterious element in astrology, and indeed the key to all deeper astrological interpretation. For in the degree come to a point of synthesis the two motions of the earth, and symbolically the two great principles of all life, collective and individual, universal and particular. In the degree, we witness the operation of the creative within an individual personality or a particular situation. Here, meaning stands revealed for whoever knows how to read symbols. So basically, I think this is probably not very well known by most astrologers of what the degrees of the zodiac are really about, and that they're not merely one of the 360 subdivisions of the zodiac. You probably know from your studies that the zodiac is like a matrix, like an imaginary matrix. We're speaking about a tropical zodiac here, not the sidereal of the constellations, but this path of the sun during the year, or in other words, as the earth goes around the sun during one full year, we can see from our perspective different sections of the sky that correspond to different parts of the zodiac. And this is happening throughout the year and throughout the seasons. At the same time, though, that the earth rotates around the sun in a little over 360 days, 365, but if we disregard the discrepancy for a moment, this is not just about moving the sun moving 1 degree per month, 1 degree per day, and 30 degrees or 1 sign per month, but it is also related to the rotation of the earth around its own axis, because the earth also rotates around its axis at the same time as it goes around the sun. And here we've got 2 cycles that are mixed together, they are intertwined. And each one of the degrees of the zodiac is connected to 1 step in their interlocking function together, if that makes sense. So then this becomes the single unit of interpretation in astrology that we can use. Rudyard says this is the most mysterious one, the degree, because it's the most as specific as we can go. Each one of the planets in our birth chart, for example, can be sitting in any of the degrees of the zodiac. Well, theoretically, you know that once you have the sun position, some of the other planets are limited in their span of how far away from the sun they can be in the birth chart. But theoretically, we can have birth charts with every single degree of the 360 represented somewhere by a point, by a planet, by a fixed star, or anything that we choose to look at and try to interpret. And in this way, the 30 degrees of each sign all have different significance. It will be inevitable to not start thinking about and talking about the Sabian symbols, for example, when we speak about the degrees of the zodiac, because these are the symbols that I think not only according to Roger, but to many others and many people that have been interested in looking for images and explanations and theory behind what each one of those degrees may mean, have agreed that these are the most accurate and the most revealing symbols so far. They're relatively new, relatively modern, but one of the things that Roger is talking about is that for them to be relevant, they need to be related to our times, as the meaning of the degrees of the zodiac may be interpreted later in a different way, or may have been interpreted differently in an earlier era. So I've got the list of all the first degrees and all the last degrees of the Sabian symbols. If we want to look at them as we go along and look at charts, just to see whether this can reveal, and in my particular case, when I work with charts, they are always extremely revealing. We had another specific discussion about the Sabian symbols. I won't go too much into them. I'm sure Dwayne is going to touch maybe something on this as well, as I know you use them a lot too, but they are extremely significant, very disregarded, not very well known. If you guys are interested to understand more about what they really are and how we use them, there is a discussion that we did about maybe a couple of months ago on the channel only about the Sabian symbols. But it's interesting also if you look at Roger's book about the symbols, the astrological mandala, the one that we have been referring to often here, that he explains in that book as well how there is a system behind the interconnection of certain degrees to other degrees. There are many levels of that and many aspects to that. But for example, we can see how every first degree or 0 degree of every sign comes in a pair with the next one starting from Aries. So for example, Aries 0 and Taurus 0 have something as a continuation of a theme between themselves. And then Gemini and Cancer the same, and so on and so forth as we go along. So today what I suggest we do is we look at just a few things. We have to limit things somewhere because otherwise we won't be able to make any sense of it. To look at 0 degree positions in birth charts and in other situations. At the 29th degree, which is called the anaretic degree. Some astrologers also include the 28th degree. So basically 28 to 29 is the 29th degree. 29 to 30 is the 30th degree. So these two sometimes are used, at the same time, regardless of which one of the two we're talking about, the interpretation is the same. And they are both maybe called the anaretic degrees. But we're looking at this end of the sign territory that for some reason is charged in a different way. It's a transitional territory where we can expect some sort of adjustment to be happening, and in the same way with the very first degree of the following sign. So the zodiac, as we know, is an energetic matrix, and we see things from different perspectives. We interpret the energies from different perspectives depending on where we stand in one of those 12 sectors. But here we are even dividing them into 30 subdivisions and seeing how this could be important. And the other thing I suggest is we look at the middle degrees. So that's 15th degree or around the 15th degree of the signs. And maybe it is going to be more significant to single out the fixed signs. So the fixed signs in astrology, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. Why them? And why, in their case, the 15th degree may be more important? Because this is the midpoint between equinoxes and solstices in the year. Yeah, the 15th degree of Taurus is exactly that many degrees from 0 Aries as it is from 0 Cancer, if that makes sense. Yeah, And Dane Rudier calls them the avatar degrees. That may be interesting to discuss later if you wish. So why, I leave it to you. I suppose some of you know more about this. So um, let's take it from here. I wanted to show more things, but yes, Lauren?
I just wanted to ask, when you say the avatar degrees, are you referring to 15? Are you referring to 29 or 1?
It's only the 15th degree.
The 15th part.
The 15th degree of the fixed signs. Only
Okay.
fixed signs. So this is a more of an esoteric concept. You know, everything we're talking about today is not as structured as it usually is. And we really don't know what the meanings of the different zodiac degrees are. Nobody can claim that for sure. It is an exploration. And as Rudier points out in this quote, this sort of task is for symbols readers. So we are in effect symbols readers with our whole study of astrology because it's a symbolic language. And here is just one more thing that we're trying to discover of how it works out. It just, to me personally, it really makes sense for the very first and very last degree, and also by that means the middle degrees of signs to be a bit more stressed, a bit more important, active, pronounced in the chart as expression of energy than every other degree. Because we can also think of the zodiac as a process with various accent points along that process. And a deeper study of the Sabian symbols could really show us the rhythm of that process. Because Rudier in the Astrological Mandala book, before starting to cover the descriptions of each one of the degrees, he's giving us the explanation behind the logic of the interconnection between them and how, for example, every single degree is intrinsically connected to the opposite one. They also come in groups of 5 and many other things that it's just going to be too lengthy for me to touch more on in a moment, but we can look at examples. So yeah, the avatar degrees are supposed to be points of maximum power, points where these 4 options, Taurus 15, Scorpio 15, Leo 15, and Aquarius 15, I have selected a few charts where they are represented. I think your case, Dwayne, with the sun is actually to be counted there. I will show you later on if you wish the chart of Dwayne. But Dwayne has the sun in Aquarius in, what is it, 14th degree or 15th degree?
15.
15th degree. So it's 14 something, yeah? 14 degrees and something minutes, which is technically the 15th degree of Aquarius. So that's a perfect example of that. And it's a relatively rare case. And not just any planet, but the sun. So that's why I want to give you now the word to you, Dwayne, to continue from here and show us what you got. Because I do admit this particular topic is not something that I have deeply researched, apart from what I told you. There were a few things about other degrees that people claim on the internet are also somehow more relevant than others, but I think if we guide ourselves with the Sabian symbols, that would be the best way forward. Okay? What would you say?
Well, thank you. For those of you that are new, just to share my experience of this group has been that I come out of each week's session with so much inspiration, and I just throw myself into research on whatever topic we've come up with. And it's been just an amazing journey, very much accelerated in terms of my personal growth. And this last week has been kind of exceptional in that regard. I found myself swimming in day after day, the energy and information just flooding in, and I'm trying to, make sense of it all. It was just a real leap into the unconscious, and I've come out with a presentation that I just witnessed it coming together. Is how it felt. So here we go. Share screen. And the anoretic, not to be confused with the anoretic or anorexia degree, of a given zodiacal sign refers to 29 degrees 00 to 29:59 of that sign. Planets or luminaries found at such a degree reflect qualities generally associated with the related zodiacal sign, while the Sabian symbols tap a more specific realm of interpretation, which is exactly what Redline has pointed to. Okay, it's not, there we go. So I'm assuming that everyone here has had at least some exposure to the Sabian symbols. If not, this would be an introduction. These are the version of the Sabian symbols attributed to Rudyard. There are other astrologers, James Burgess, Linda Hill, of course, Mark Edmund Jones was the original receiver of the Sabian symbol schema. These are, they've been out now in the populace for what, 50 years at least?
Since the 30s.
And these are some of what they are. What I've done is gather all the anaretic degrees of them, of the Sabian symbols together, just for a little overview, starting with, you know, Aries 30, a duck pond and its brood. So that simple indication of the realization of natural boundaries. This is something that we all have to contend with. If we have a particular planet or luminary at that degree, then according to my understanding, that's going to really emphasize that particular quality for that person. There's quite a variety of imagery, of course. A peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle, a parade of bathing beauties before large beach crowds, daughters of the American Revolution, an unsealed letter, 3 mounds of knowledge, children in Halloween costumes. So you can see that it really runs the gamut of contemporary, the contemporary psyche, let's say. A secret meeting of men responsible for executive decisions in world affairs. And the final, the Pisces 30, which was the wrap up of kind of integrating and synthesizing all of the symbols. A majestic rock formation resembling a face is idealized by a boy who takes it as his ideal of greatness. And as he grows up, begins to look like it. And the keynote that Rudyard ascribes the power of clearly visualized ideals to mold the life of the visualizer. And this is certainly what we as astrologers are dealing with, you know, clearly visualized ideals, you know, conveyed through our symbolic language. I have Pallas Athena, the asteroid Pallas Athena, anaretic in Taurus. And here we see the asteroid belt, you know, between Mars and Jupiter. And Rudyard considers the asteroids to be servants and messengers of universal harmony. And to embrace each of the asteroids, the 4 major asteroids, is quite a journey. I don't know if people have done that, but I found it a very fulfilling encounter to go asteroid by asteroid through that series. And Demetra George has written the book on the asteroid goddesses. It's fabulous. So I came to an enhanced understanding of Taurus anaretic through my own birth chart, which places asteroid Pallas Athena at Taurus 30 degrees. That understanding came about as a result of reading an article by Christina Rodenbeck titled, "Why Pallas Athena is the Astrologer's Asteroid." In the article, Christina ascribes the psychological capacity of pattern recognition to asteroid Pallas Athena. Surmising that this capacity is vital to astrological interpretation, the author conducted an analysis of the birth charts of several well-known astrologers. The results of her research clearly affirm her assumption. The following excerpt from her article reveals both her discovery process and some of its results. Redlina, would you please?
Yes,
Thank you.
just need to move the windows as well. Okay, so why Pallas Athena is the astrologer's asteroid by the Oxford astrologer Christina Rodenbeck? Well, I laughed out loud when I pulled up the first chart. Charles Carter, 1887-1968. The head of the British Astrological Association for many years and author of some really useful books, an old favorite of mine. Pallas conjunct Sun in Aquarius with orb of 2 degrees. Oh, don't you just love astrology? But Charles Carter was, by the way, I think the one that did the most research on the degrees of the zodiac for predictive purposes.
Right on.
Then we have Master of Midpoints, Reinhold Eberton. Pallas conjunct the Sun in Aquarius. Alan Leo, 1860-1917. How about the father of modern astrology, Alan Leo? Pallas in the 9th, wisdom, systems of knowledge, trine Saturn on the ascendant, 2 degrees orb. The doyen of contemporary astrology, Liz Green. Pallas conjunct Moon in the 1st, trine Mercury in the 9th, publishing in knowledge. And we know that she's mostly known by the many books she published, isn't it?
Yeah.
The romantic popularizer, Linda Goodman. Pallas conjunct Venus in the 9th house. That's very fitting. Venus.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure, is that zany and brainy?
Yeah, zany and brainy. Rick Levine, you'll know that. If you know Rick, you'll know he's kind of a crazy guy.
Yes.
The master astrologer.
He's still very active at the moment.
Yeah.
Pallas conjunct Uranus in the 1st 1 degree orb, and his pole, Jeff Jower, has Pallas at the top of his chart in the 10th house of career opposite Saturn and exactly quincunx Uranus. The Queen of Horary, Ivy Goldstein Jacobson. I don't know her. Maybe you have to introduce me.
I don't either.
No. Pallas conjunct North Node in Jupiter in the 10th opposite Uranus. Deaconess of Dissemination, Donna Cunningham. Pallas in Aquarius again. Trine Mercury in Gemini. Orb 3. Well, so many of them have it in Aquarius because they're pretty much from the same generation and Pallas doesn't move very quickly. I guess that's one of the reasons why. I extracted all the chart information from ACE2 Databank, the wonderful resource founded by Louise Rodden, Pallas rising in Aquarius. Case rested.
Thank you. So I don't know if before we push on, if maybe people have commentary at this point, you're welcome to share any insights or stories. Or
if I may interject something about Ivy Jacobson.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, she is probably best known as, well, she's a strong proponent for the dark moon Lilith, which is the second moon of the earth, not to be confused with the black moon Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
And she was contemporary, I would say, of Dane Rudger, and so she was primarily in the early to mid portion of the 1900s. She's written several books. Some of her books, early books, she actually typed herself and self-published. So if you can find one of her books, you might want to check it out. She does have lots of interesting stuff in them. Yeah, she's one of the early 20th century astrologers.
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we push on? Okay. And I can't quite see that.
Yep. So, several years previous to reading Christina's article, I had read The Asteroid Goddesses by Dimitra George. Doing so made me aware that asteroid Pallas Athena was a Taurus 30 degrees in the 11th house of my natal chart. But it was the Oxford Astrology article that propelled me into a much deeper exploration of what the significance of that placement pointed to in my life. And so began my own chart research quest.
I think I can read it. Looking into my astrological database of birth charts, I sensed immediately that anaretic degrees carry a special energy, not only in the lives of astrologers, but of people from all walks of life. I came out of my preliminary research quest empowered by the realization that of the 84 charts I investigated, only 2 individuals besides myself had Pallas Athena anaretic: the Dalai Lama, Cancer anaretic, and Mahatma Gandhi, Pisces anaretic. This discovery inflamed my interest in anaretic degrees even more, and thus began my quest to understand what I have recently come to refer to as the anaretic moment, a moment of indefinite duration experienced as a subjective plenitude of being, wherein the powerful presence of a seed harvest specific to our particular nativity captures our attention. If in that moment we choose to adjust our behavior in alignment with what is essentially a download of energy and information, we may be fortunate enough to come into balanced reception of what I like to think of as a gift from spirit. The process-oriented approach to astrology pioneered by Dane Rudyard provides practical tools for consciously working with the anaretic moment in a way that facilitates embodiment of such spiritual gifts. At the core of those tools is Rudyard's elucidation of the fractal nature of the synodic lunation cycle, wherein he reveals its archetypal function as a key to all worlds. Within Rudyard's lunation cycle model, I correlate the anaretic moment to the new moon portion of the lunation cycle. I also liken the anaretic moment to what Yaqui elder Don Juan Matus calls a cubic centimeter of chance. And a quote from Carlos Castaneda's book, The Teachings of Don Juan, and this is Don Juan speaking. All of us, whether or not we are warriors, have a cubic centimeter of chance that pops out in front of our eyes from time to time. The difference between an average man and a warrior is that the warrior is aware of this, and one of his tasks is to be alert, deliberately waiting, so that when his cubic centimeter of chance pops out, he has the necessary speed, the prowess to pick it up. A warrior is always alert and tight and has the spring, the gumption to grab it. So I was quite fascinated to see Don Juan showing up in my research this week, but I really think it rings true for this notion of the anaretic moment. So exploring in particular this Pallas Athena Taurus anaretic. It is by vigorously acting on the subtle prompts of a Pallas Athena anaretic moment that I've found my way into Radalina Shanova's weekly open astrology discussions. For as I understand it, with Pallas Athena anaretic located in my 11th house natally, active participation in a group such as this is imperative in order for me to manifest concretely whatever gifts from spirit are assigned to me by right of birth. It is in full appreciation of the part each person in the group plays in this process that I continue to show up as an active participant. And I just want to say it's everyone's attendance and that in the group, whether you're contributing actively or not, you know, you're witnessing, you're part of this whole process, and I honor that. I appreciate that. So my natal chart, and there's that Pallas Athena sitting right directly in the 11th house. I'd be interested in people's commentary. I've listed what I think are the main aspects involved. I'd like to throw it open to commentary at this point.
Dwayne, am I seeing things correctly, or the earth elements is not very represented in your chart in general? It is a little bit.
The
But
which?
the earth elements, the element
Uh-huh.
of earth, so placements in earth. Yeah, you've got your Venus in Capricorn and Jupiter in Capricorn, but apart from that, I've always seen you as more as the Aquarian personage. I think maybe part of what this anoretic Taurus Pallas Athena may be about is doing something tangible. Like every single time you present to us, you are not just presenting at the moment, but you are kind of accumulating a bit of a legacy of all those presentations over time. And I guess you're compiling them together, and not just for here, but other things like this that you do. And it's this at the same time group contribution and group participation, house. But through the prism of Taurus, it seems to me that you're building your own material base of knowledge, something like this, and experience and things like that. That will then be left behind in a way. I always associate.
That rings completely true. Absolutely.
And
I'm very aware. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. You go ahead.
Rudyard, I forget which book it is, but he kind of does an overview of the life and the different stages, the archetypal stages. And when you hit 70, you've got a significant wrap-up point in your life. He really recommends that it's a point in the life to look back and to start reaping the seed harvest, consolidating your insights from your mind, from your life experience, and putting them in a place where they can persist and as works. And yeah, I consider each of these presentations to be a little work in that way. Not only am I consolidating my historical aspect, but also I'm continuing to learn, actively learning. So yeah, what you've said is exactly right.
Seems to me that you have particularly felt that urge for consolidating and for synthesizing things because that Pallas Athena at this degree, because this degree always I think pushes us towards completion. Maybe that's the one you mentioned something similar, that you associate the anoretic moment with the new moon phase. The way I see it is the 29th, 30th degree is the last phase, like the balsamic moon just before new moon phase. It's the last step in a journey. That's why we're speaking about the last expression, almost like the sign sums up itself. The person feels the need to sum up the qualities of that sign and prepare for what is coming next, because what is coming next is closer to what is behind. And it is probably a bit confusing with the 29th degree, because there may be a sense of urgency there, a bigger sense of urgency than in other degrees of the zodiac, of I really need to complete that work, or I really need to get on with it and be very motivated, very active. I don't know if you would agree with this, but I feel like you are like this, and you're not wasting any time whatsoever. And I guess at the same time, even if we have anoretic degrees and planets or asteroids or whatever in them, we need the right conditions. And the right conditions to me are the conditions of the house. So I don't think that this degree in the sign of Pallas was going to be able to express itself as actively in another area as it is in a group setting. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. We need the house there to be able to.
I have an observation.
Great. Please.
when Radalina, is that okay to do that now?
Of course, yes.
Okay, well, it occurs to me that your chart puts a nice pressure on Pallas to perform, because it's in the 11th house, but it has this strong opposition, especially of the Chiron in the 5th house of creativity. And so you've got the push of the opposition always helps, to me, it helps give push, and it's pushing on Pallas. Then you've got, although the Pallas trine Venus is a helpful flow of energy from the receiver that Venus is, and bringing its feminine aspects to Pallas. It's also has a natural on the descendant of your ascendant, and that's going to cause Venus itself to be pushed a lot. And then you've got Mars squaring it. So in the 8th house of getting rid of the old, bringing in the new. And so it's also going to be pushing on it in the relationship of a square. So I just like all the push on Pallas Athena that was built into your chart. And that's what I had to say.
Thank you. That's wonderful. That's really
Any
insightful.
observations? Anyone else wants to maybe ask something?
I would like to. I see that Pallas Athena is in Taurus, and Taurus has connection with Ceres. So I'm looking at Ceres, and Ceres is in the 2nd house. And at the same time, Venus is very emphasized by conjunction to the descendant, has a trine to Pallas Athena, and is square to the nodes as well. So there is really it comes from various directions, that there is something. Taurus, I would connect it with materialization, and as you said a while ago, Radilina, or making things manifest and give something concrete form and makes things have body, embody something like this, and the wisdom of Pallas Athena coming into Taurus, so in the context of the 11th, of course, helps solving the problem of Venus square nodes or Ceres being transformed by Pluto.
Yeah, very good observation. You kind of connected the dots, John Mark. You connected the dots so well, because now that you pointed it out, I see this is like a Venus repeating topic, 2nd house, the Taurus, then the Venus itself as a placement. But also, Ceres is opposite the Sun, isn't it?
Yes.
So the way you see how the oppositions are like a cross here from Pallas Athena to Chiron and Vesta, like Lauren pointed out, and then the other one is Pluto Ceres against the Sun Mercury. Yeah,
it's not square nodes.
big configuration. Anyway,
I'm aware, Lauren, of your. You've mentioned the Pleiadian connection in your life. And I'm wondering if there's any commentary for Pallas Athena and Taurus Anaretic.
I don't have anything immediately, but I'll think about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Dwayne, final question. Would you not consider your nodes position as also on the, okay, not exactly on the anaretic degree, but still, I would consider the 29th as well in the same zone. Would you?
Yeah, I've been having those thoughts as well. That any factor that's working with those final degrees is, this is the deepest part of the seeding process, the manifestation of the seed. So there's very subtle stages, and when we're in the final degrees, we're in that zone. So.
Yes.
I do have a little more if we push on.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
So just to kind of review, Pallas Athena, principle of creative intelligence, goddess of wisdom and justice. Taurus, that fixed earth, identification with substance, which is exactly what you have spoken about. Purpose and productivity. These are all natural for me with this placement. 11th house, friends, hopes, and wishes, social life. That's the very traditional notation for this house. The humanistic meaning, I extracted this from Michael Mayer's book, The Handbook for a Humanistic Astrologer. The exteriorization and fulfillment of one's social position and the influence one's position has upon one's personal life. That's definitely a factor here, that the influence on the personal life. When I get wound up with my research between sessions, it comes in as a priority in my life, and a lot of other things get moved to secondary. And I've, of course, have to work that out in my personal relationship with my partner. There's times when I have to make adjustments, you know. So it's a very real part of the phenomenon. Now, the particular Sabian symbol associated with Taurus 30, a peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. So we have here the personal display of inherited gifts. A great person able to display a multitude of gifts is always, at one level or another, the consummation of a long past of efforts and victories. As a great occultist once wrote, adepts are the flowering of their races and cultures. The peacock is the bird consecrated to Venus. In occult tradition, the Promethean spirits who gave to animal mankind the divine gift of self-conscious intelligence had come from Venus, which may or may not refer to the physical planet we can observe in the sky. This is the final culmination. This is the final symbol of the fourth scene, whose keyword has been given as confirmation. This peacock symbol indeed confirms the social status of the owner of the ancestral estate. It indicates a consummation of individual efforts, and it suggests that such a consummation is hardly possible except when a line of ancestors, biological or spiritual, forms its base. So you can imagine that that particular symbol and commentary has been powerful in my contemplations, you know, just trying to sink deeper and deeper into this particular placement. This was very unexpected in my research this week, to come up with an Egyptian depiction of the anoretic moment. I was reading a book. Well, I'll just wait. So the anoretic moment is a moment of this is to repeat, is a moment of indefinite duration, experienced as a subjective plenitude of being, wherein the powerful presence of a seed harvest specific to our particular nativity captures our attention. If in that moment we choose to adjust our behavior in alignment with what is essentially a download of energy and information, we may be fortunate enough to come into balanced reception of what I like to think of as a gift from spirit. So very important that there is the conscious choice to maintain attunement, maintain contemplation of that particular factor. Otherwise, it's gone. So I was reading this book, A Beginner's Guide to Constructing the Universe, and this particular image came up, and his commentary is Asar, or in Greek and English, Osiris, the Egyptian personification of cycles, In general, gods and goddesses of the ancient world were personified archetypal principles whose actions manifest themselves in nature. Asar, often depicted green-faced, symbolizing vegetation, personifies all cycles in nature. Here, he revolves in the waters of chaos, lifting the sky goddess Nut into spiritual light. Now, I came across this passage, and it kind of made an impact on me. And then days went by, and then suddenly, when this whole Egyptian, let's call it a heritage, I don't know, it was like it was in my field. I dreamt of Osiris, or Asar, was in my dream time. It was very distinct, this green face, and he just waltzed through my dream time. And I came out of that just trying to recall this passage. And so I had to go digging for it. And it just seems to be a very apt image of this notion of the anaretic moment. And for those of you who've been with me for the last several weeks, we have here, once again, Mr. Natural. And seeming to me to be a very similar vibe to Osiris here. And this anaretic moment. So again, unexpectedly, I found myself cooking up a hieroglyph to signify the anaretic moment. And so far, this is what I've come up with. And it became quite pleasing for me to be able to use it as a design element. It was just kind of fun. And the images just flew together. And there's a lot in that particular image that if I'm hearing some of Radlina's commentary on this new moon moment, to me, it's all wrapped up in that particular symbol. I don't know if other people are seeing it that way or not, but hidden within that is a reference to the hexagram 1 of the I Ching with the 6 solid lines. So you could take and pursue that element alone. There's also the two, let's call them triangles, are located between the 3rd and the 4th line, which could also be seen as the heart chakra. So there's all different aspects of this hieroglyph that could be explored further. And over the next few months, perhaps they will be. Future explorations are possible. Initially, I just got this glimpse of, just exploring the trines. I'm aware of having been in relationship with someone with Sagittarius anaretic, and that was a really powerful relationship. And as I went through the whole list of charts that I worked with, I saw all kinds of places where there was a resonance I felt with the people who had anaretic planets. There's just this kind of a natural resonant feeling that came along with that. For those who don't know my work, I've been using the term lightning path to refer to the body of work that I've consolidated around this synthesis, which on a very basic level includes an integration of the lunation cycle and the circle of I Ching hexagrams you see here, the polarized array of hexagrams. There's a whole world of discovery there. And my website is lightningpath.net. Now, for those who there's no indication of a or of an anaretic degree in your chart, I would say take note that the new moon before your birth can be considered an anaretic moment. And from that moment, as Rudyard has shown in his progressed lunation work, there's once again, a whole world of interpretation available through that particular technique. And it all starts with that new moon before birth as the fundamental foundation. And there we go.
Thank you so much, Dwayne.
Thank you. I would like to ask why you say the new moon before birth is an anaretic moment if it's not that 30 degrees, 29 degrees. Why do you say that?
Yeah, I've contemplated this, and for some reason I'm blacking out on what the insight that carried for me.
But you reminded me of having an anaretic newborn before birth, which is great.
But if you don't have those degrees for your pre-birth, or that lunation cycle when the sun and moon are one before your birth is the moment that we look at for that lunation cycle. I just don't get how it connects to the word anaretic.
Yeah, this is all so fresh out of the oven here. I'm having trouble myself formulating.
You can just leave it. Then that means my question is your question, and we'll find it. We'll find what that meant to you.
Pursue it. It's an excellent question, and it's the feeling more than anything, I guess. I just have this sense of the primordial grounding that is inherent in that new moon moment.
And perhaps it's more in the way that I see it being so in how it fits into your talk, rather than calling it anaretic. What I was thinking it fits in with is that moment where they described a cube of opportunity that you seize, and that becomes the point of a download. That makes more sense to me in what I would compare it to in your talk. What was the verbiage for that cube around a person that you wait until? I was really relating to that, but what was the terminology used?
The cubic centimeter of chance?
Cubic centimeter of chance. Yeah, that you stay alert for. And it came through Don Juan as well. That as the warrior, you wait. I feel like that's how you choose a birth too. It's like you're waiting at the higher planes for that cubic centimeter of chance where it's the right moment for you to enter the planet.
And that's what I was indicating earlier. Yeah, the notion of the primordial nature of that moment. Which is what the new moon before birth is.
Or maybe, I don't know, it's just you guys made me think of this. If we can compare the anaretic last degree of a sign as this anticipation of the old to be gone and the new to start, the pressing final line kind of thing, it maybe could be compared with that cycle of the lunation cycle that we were all born under, and that newborn before birth, which is something going towards its completion. And when we're born during it, regardless of whether at the beginning or towards the end of it, we are feeling that this cycle is there to be kind of completing its final days until we experience the very first progressed new moon after birth. And I think it was Roger, but maybe I'm wrong because I was a long time ago I read about this, that this period of time between the person's birth and the first time they experience a new moon after birth is a bit of a living in the past, being conditioned by the past in a similar way as if you're conditioned by the sign that's in an anaretic degree. So if you have, say, in this case, Taurus, so that Athena is feeling conditioned by the Taurian archetype, wrapping up, in a Taurus style things, because it is anticipating to start again in Gemini, for example. Does that make sense to you? Or
Yeah.
okay. Well,
The wrap up. Now, how do I, there we go. And stop share.
one thing that I wanted to point out about your presentation, Dwayne, I don't know if you guys noticed when Dwayne was reading the description for the Sabian symbol for the 30th degree of Taurus, how the symbol was speaking about Venus. Yes? And we don't know what the configuration in the chart would be. So I come to these coincidences all the time with the Sabian symbols. So whatever symbol I'm looking at somehow has a direct link either to the house in which the thing is placed, the planet is placed, for example, or the aspects. So just before that, we were talking about how, Dwayne, you've got, the Venus aspect with the Pallas Athena, the connection with your own Venus in the 7th house, and the 2nd house, which is also related to Venus. So all this kind of comes together into this Venus symbology. And then we read the symbol, and here we've got Venus again. Isn't that amazing? Because the two are not connected.
Out until he put the slide on. I had looked it up in my little book and was thinking, yeah, here the Promethean spirit comes, it said, and is and that it comes from the planet Venus.
Mm-hmm.
And it is interesting how it comes together.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure to share.
Thank you.
May I share with you, Dwayne, start from my side for a moment, because I wanted to give you another example that we didn't touch on before. Just
Sure.
very quickly. I got all the charts here, but Jacqueline, I had selected yours for another reason, but we'll maybe look at that later. Let's see where Dwayne is for a moment. Here you are. So this is interesting as well in the context of everything else. I just wanted to share this while it's still fresh in our minds. The 15th degree of Aquarius, where your sun is, Dwayne.
Mm-hmm.
I think that may even be more powerful, if not as powerful, as the example that you gave us for a degree that's accentuated in a way. I feel like these middle degrees of the fixed signs really are very important. And the symbols of the bow, the eagle, the lion, and the angel, like what we've got in the card of the world in Tarot. Just wanted to show you that as well. Here, hope you guys can see it. So these are basically the 4 fixed signs in astrology. And what Roger is talking about as the avatar degrees, the 15 degrees of each sign. And here we've got it, Aquarius 15. How do you feel about this, Dwayne? How do you interpret it?
Well, I first became aware of the whole concept of what Rudyard calls the gates of avataric descent.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in the early 70s when I was reading his book, Astrology of Personality, which is where he introduces that whole notion. you can imagine that really piqued my curiosity, realizing that I had Sun sitting on that particular degree. And, to this day, of course, I'm still exploring that significance and seeking to manifest the potential in it. Taking my birth chart as a map, a map of consciousness. And I'm trying to get what the map's telling me and bring that into embodiment. So it's been a pervasive presence, and also the fact that it's exactly opposite Pluto.
That's why Pluto as well, even though it's 16 degree, but still in the zone. Pretty
darn close. So that continues to be a realm of mystery for me, and exploration. So,
well, it's just something to demonstrate here, and maybe we saw before that the Pallas Athena was actually related by many aspects with the Pluto-Sun opposition. So I guess you have a powerhouse of degrees there that's looking for ways to manifest in your case.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you put out as another word for Pallas Athena, another name? Did I see Minerva or something like that? What was another name for her that you put in one of your slides?
I can't remember.
Was it it was something with an M.
Minerva.
Minerva. Yeah, so I did say that. What does Minerva? How is Minerva related to Pallas Athena?
It's just a Roman name.
Maybe
okay.
mythology.
Okay, thank you.
You know how all four steroids are related to some stories in myth that Demetra George is going through? I'm not sure if she was talking about Minerva in relation to Pallas, but maybe. Is she?
I don't know, but I just saw it on one of his slides and it came back to me as a question. Sorry.
All right.
Is it the Greek, Roman?
It's a Roman name of like Zeus is Jupiter.
Oh, okay. So that's the alternative name, the Roman version of that same.
Yeah, the Minerva is the Roman equivalent of Athena.
That's right.
Basically.
Okay.
Makes
Roman
sense.
versus Greek, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just randomly, I've switched to another chart now, Jean-Marc's.
Yeah.
Because it's so many, another example of something else. 0 degree placements. So many of them you've got, Jean-Marc. So Moon 0, Libra, Uranus 0, Virgo, and Jupiter. So here is a chance if you guys want to touch again on the Jupiter Saturn conjunction coming up in December. It's 0 degrees Aquarius, which you have in your chart.
Yeah.
So I have Sun in 0 degrees Scorpio, and to me this is also a very interesting degree. I think this is now if we compare it with the 29th, we can really see the difference between a mature disposition towards things and kind of what Dwayne demonstrated in many ways, this late phase of the moon feeling against in my case in particular, naivety, novelty, like beginning feeling, not knowing where you are, what you really, exploration is a newborn kind of thing feeling of 0 degrees placements. And I don't know, Jean-Marc, do you share that? Do you feel like a lot is like being born in your life, kind of in the process?
Like a chicken struggling to get out of the egg.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that possible, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that symbol. Yeah, at least I can say I feel like this in many ways. Also being born on the new moon, I think many things coincide in charts like this. If we look for
the Zen tradition, it would be like beginner's mind is the mind of a being that is open to many, many possibilities, called the Zen beginner's mind.
yes,
Yeah, that's a nice.
It's a little kinder image than the chicken who hatched from the egg.
That's a kind thing. I can relate, for example, with my moon in Libra, because I've heard that at the 0 degree manifests the characteristics of the sign in a kind of undiluted way, you know, really almost exaggerated. And I can remember a friend of mine really laughing because I was pouring some, I don't know, wine or beer, I don't know, into 2 glasses. And I was really pouring a little bit in one glass, pouring in a little bit in the other, then squatting to look really at the horizontal to be sure to give exactly the same, you know, because I didn't want him to have more than me, but I didn't want to take more than, yeah, it was such an exaggerated Libra way to behave. Maybe that's.
do you think we can be obsessive about the sign at the 0 degree?
Yeah.
So enthusiastic about starting to experience it and wanting to, see what this is all about. But also, we haven't got a lot of influences yet on top of it. Maybe that's why it's so pure, because it's just the first step into it and nothing has marred its expression yet. But yeah, it's interesting. Maybe you can't say a lot about Uranus and Jupiter because they are not personal planets, but
yeah, what can I say about Uranus and Jupiter? About Uranus, I really lived. I expressed Uranus strongly when I was a child. I remember I was not conform, but it was just happening like that. For example, I was still wearing short pants when all the other guys had long trousers. So I was still looking like the
outsider.
Like the outsider, and still a bit like, maybe younger, or having a still more childlike way to dress up. And a number of behavior I had, which made me an outsider spontaneously. So, well, that's very Uranus. Now I don't know if it's Uranus 0 degree, but that's possible. And Uranus is also the ruler of my South Node. So the South Node in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius. I find it always difficult to relate things to really a particular placement, because everything that we live in real life is a combination of all our energies.
Yes, we can just signal out one thing from the chart and say that's to be attributed to that.
No,
you have a lot of people this is a question for everyone, but you have a lot of people that are coming to you for advice, or just others that are studying astrology are saying, my Chiron is making me do this, or my Uranus is causing that. And I'm always amazed, and I'm asking, how do you know that it's exactly this that you as the the perpetrator of the trouble, for example?
Yeah, by ignoring the rest, basically.
Yes. And I was going through one of Roger's articles just accidentally this week, and where he's talking about integrating the chart and how we really have a problem in those moments when one thing from the chart is getting attention at that moment, like one complex, one desire, one need, one function, and it wants to get what it needs to get in that moment. And then it creates a compulsion. So we go into this direction. Maybe anoretic degrees or first degrees are more prompt to that, because we have a harder time controlling them. But if we haven't integrated the whole chart, we're more likely to go in this direction, isn't it? And to give the chance to Chiron or Uranus or Pluto, whatever, to cause trouble at any moment. So, yeah, anyway. What do you guys think? Any other ideas, questions? Would you like to see another chart? as well. I've got so many interesting examples today.
Yes, go ahead and let's look at them.
Yes, I wanted.
Can I just ask before we push on,
Yes.
Jean-Marc, do you use the Sabian symbols yourself?
Yes, but I don't know them all. But I don't know all the Sabian symbols associated with these placements, and I will be curious to look at them.
So for the 0 degree and for the 30th degree, and of course I thought this will come up. So if you want to just quickly look, and you make of it what you want.
Then where is the first?
0 degrees Virgo was the Uranus. Yes.
Yes.
So in a portrait, the best of a person's traits and character are idealized. So that's just the symbol. We can go ahead and read the explanations as well, but that's just the symbol.
Yeah.
Then we have Libra, and you've got here an exact semi-sextile between Uranus and the Moon. Yeah, because the Moon is in Libra 0.
Ah, the butterfly.
Butterfly preserved and made perfect with a dart through it. So that makes sense somehow to you.
That's very specific.
And the explanation of that one, I know that I'm really into the Sabian symbols.
Okay.
It's really worth that one.
All right.
Yeah, because it's just halfway through the whole cycle.
Yes, that's actually a very important one, because that's the equinox point. Yeah, that's the middle of the. Excuse me for that. I'm trying to move my windows, and it's not.
When is that again? What's the degree as I look it up?
Yeah, that's what. No, don't worry, Lauren. I've got it all here, ready.
Yeah.
Wanted to.
I know. I just like to look too.
Yes, sure. You can quote. Are you looking at the astrological mandala one? You can maybe.
I always have this book nearby. I have the Jones, and I have this one, and I use them all the time.
You know, Roger is a little bit more difficult to grasp right at the moment. He's more symbolic, even though I recommend you read that if you're interested. But that's why I'm using Linda Hill here, because it's just quicker for us to orient what this is all about. So
I just someone start with this. So let me just see if I can remember what I learned about it.
Do you guys want me to read a little bit about this, or you can just read it yourself? This symbol implies something vital and beautiful being preserved. So the passing of time doesn't age, decay, or destroy it. Beauty in shape or form has been frozen in one moment, denying the natural process of decay. An archetypal death is symbolized, a perfection through sacrifice. As inspiring as this process can be, this can bring difficulties in moving on or changing situations. People can feel stuck, like they have no choice, can't move forward, are trapped, or are being used for something that they don't agree with. However, this does bring some wonderful rewards with lovingly longevity and a sense of something eternally good attached to it. Perfection and beauty made immortal. Moments frozen in time. I connect this with photography for some reason, and I know you do some photography, Jean-Marc. Very spontaneous photography, don't you?
Yeah, it's just for fun and to put on Facebook, so not without any technique.
Yes, well, it's this kind of photography that I like, that you make a simple picture of something. It's not about the photographic technique or anything like that. It's about seeing something that that is just out there and pointing to it, and then it is somehow symbolic at the same time.
And I can read a little bit, just a sentence or two from that seems. It says the immortal archetype reality that a perfect and dedicated life reveals. From the undifferentiated ocean of potentiality, this symbol for Libra 1 reveals to the intuitive consciousness the essential character of the second hemicycle in the time consecrated to the seed. Just as the spring equinox is consecrated to the germ, the new rise of life, which informs the growth of the individual organisms. So it's like to pinpoint, and then it's an archetype of beauty, idealized, but also this where you put the seed for the new growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Both of them are speaking about the downside to this of getting stuck with something, and maybe the Libran quality of wanting something to be perfect, ideal, which you kind of hold on to, and if it's not, you don't accept it. Is there something like this?
Well, yeah, sure. Now I can assure you that I am decaying, but maybe at the level of, and something I usually relate to my Chiron in ninth, but now it could make sense to this is it's some mental work, so like Libra, to find, because I could say that I am obsessed by finding a way to have a very precise and without ambiguity or contradictions or absurdities, a very exact map of reality. And basically all my personal research beyond astrology, but involving astrology, is to try to get a precise understanding of reality, just because you talk about getting stuck. I could relate that to the notion of double bind in psychology. Then when you absorb unconsciously contradictory injunctions, but you are not aware of it. So you know that you have to do one thing, and you know that you know, or you feel more or less consciously that you have to behave a certain way, and at the same time you have the urge of the drive that you have to behave in another way, and the two are contradictory, and you find yourself completely stuck into a contradiction that can be resolved only, in my understanding, by finding the right words to describe reality, to say this is this like this and it's like that. And for example, the Saturnian imperative that say, you have to do hard work, and you have to try again, and you have to make efforts and so on. And at the same time, you have to go with the flow, you have to relax, so you have to let things happen. And if you have this kind of injunctions working at the same time without you understanding how to handle them, you're stuck. And the solution is to find a way to describe psychological reality, or how to relate with reality in a way that combines these two opposites and make them work together and make them having sense, but each in their own time or at their own place. And that can be something precisely very, and I think that I was really stuck between this kind of contradictory drives or attitudes or worldviews that really needed to be sorted out. So maybe that's my butterfly.
I'm reading Spinoza right now, and it's very much about the science that's embedded in nature. And anyway, dealing with all those, even in the image that was given of the ocean of possibilities, and then boom, a dart into a butterfly's wing to examine the beauty.
Right. Moving on to another chart, shall we? Do you want?
Please.
Radlina?
Yes?
Radlina, I was just thinking if, this may be going beyond this discussion, but perhaps we would want to consider the midpoint between Jean-Marc's Uranus and the moon is a 15-degree Virgo.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I, there may be something of significance there. Just a thought.
Yeah, of course, the midpoints are another huge topic that we can discuss. Obviously, these two are at an exact semi-sextile, as we said, 30 degrees between themselves. Maybe it's more significant that the moon is exactly trine Jupiter, which is the other aspect there. Yes?
Sure,
But
absolutely.
the avatar degrees that we spoke about earlier were just the fixed signs. So Virgo 15 is not one of them, but still we can argue that Virgo 15 is, because it's the middle of a sign, it's also going to be interesting.
A fine lace handkerchief, heirloom from valorous ancestors, and the keynote, the quintessence of deeds well done.
Right.
Yeah.
A fine lace handkerchief. That relates to the butterfly wings to me.
Mhm.
Well, speaking about degrees of the zodiac and these midpoints that you said, Michael, I don't know if you guys have played with this option in the James Burgess website about Sabian symbols. No, there is another calculator, not his one, but if you go down, if you go to the Sabian symbols calculator, for where you can enter the details of for birth chart and see all the Sabian symbols immediately. You know, there is another calculator. I think it's called sabiancalculator.com or something like that. And that one allows you to calculate midpoints. And you can have all of the midpoints of your chart. And this, for me personally, has yielded such interesting results because it turned out that in more than 5 cases, I had the midpoint between two planets, the position of another planet. So for example, I'm not sure that's correct, but for example, the midpoint between Venus and Pluto is my Mercury or something like this. Yeah. And then 5 or 6 times I had that, which is, I think, patterns like this may be significant. Or when you then find that the midpoints in your chart may be the points in somebody else's chart that you have a relationship with. This is also very interesting to explore if you have the time to do it. Okay, now what I suggest we do is I'll show you several charts, one after the other quickly, with the things that I have circled in them, and then you would pick what was interesting, so that we go back to that one and take a bit, more deeper look, shall we? Because I've got maybe 7 or 8 up to 10, and let's see which one will emerge as interesting. Because Jean-Marc, you're one of the top in my list because we've got so much going on with these 0 degrees. But for example, let's see what we've got here. Oh, not me. I'm only having 0.
0 degrees sun.
It's an authentic 0.
It's there are other charts more interesting than mine in this particular case. Let's just see. Nils is not with us, so I'll skip her for the moment. Simona, you're with us. I think you joined us later. Do you mind if we look at your chart?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I'm just showing it quickly. We'll come back to it if necessary in a moment. But I noticed in your chart the part of fortune at 0 degrees Scorpio. Well, obviously, I've got my sun there, so that's why it caught my eye. But then you've got Venus at 29. This is an anoretic degree.
Yes.
29 of Aries. So maybe there was something about that in a few models. Then let's see who else I've got here. I'm sorry, the windows are preventing me from looking properly at the charts on my window. I'm switching between them. Oh, it's not working now. Bear with me. Trying to switch between charts, but for some reason, okay, here we are. Then I've got James as well. James, do you mind?
I don't mind at all.
0 degrees Virgo is your Mercury, and I noticed that this Mercury is actually quite significant in the chart as a whole, because you've got so much going on in Gemini around your descendant, including the node, and the node is exactly on the descendant in Gemini. So practically that Mercury is ruling the node and the descendant. So also it's got all those aspects here with the end of Libra and many other things. So I thought this is a very prominent. So where Jean-Marc had his Uranus, here is your Mercury. Then I had this chart. No, sorry, that's Jean-Marc again. This is Jacqueline. Jacqueline, are you with us still?
Yes, I'm still here. I was turned off.
Great. Oh, what an interesting situation for you. Some in many places I found this commentary that the most interesting anaretic degree is supposed to be the last degree of Scorpio. Well, I don't know about that, but you've got your Mercury there.
Yeah.
And it's exactly sextiling Saturn in an anaretic degree.
Yeah.
Virgo. Okay?
Yeah.
Quite something. Then I've got Beryl.
All right.
This 0 degree Virgo keeps coming. You know, we have many examples of that. You're the third person that has something going on there. This is your SC Beryl, 0 degree Virgo.
Yeah.
And then you've got your part of fortune at 29 Virgo. And I noticed Venus, 15th degree of Aquarius as well.
Yeah.
Which is where Dwayne's sun is. So you've got Venus Sun conjunction with him, which is interesting.
Yes. He's got something else at 27 Pisces as well, hasn't he? I think Dwayne's midheavens is at 27 Pisces.
Is it, Dwayne?
I think.
He's looking.
Oh, so you're saying there is a connection on the other side as well with your sun.
I think so. It isn't, I thought I noticed it was at 27. I might be wrong.
Dwayne, do you have something at 27 Pisces? I think you're muted.
And his volume's not on.
Yeah,
He's trying to figure it out right now. But anyway,
I can't figure it out.
I thought when I was looking at his chart, his midheaven was at 27 Pisces, same as mine.
Your sun.
Oh yes, sorry.
Dwayne, I'm surprised you don't know your chart by heart. Like
I know. Just when I figure it out, it moves. I change the house system. I've been exploring the equal house system in the last week as well, and that changes some of those subtle things. But I'd say, yeah, we definitely have a resonance there. Whether it's exactly the same degree or not, it's close.
Yeah.
Well, you have a sun-moon conjunction, which is as good as it gets with synastry. So your sun, Dwayne, is on Beryl's moon, pretty much exactly. So that's a very good condition for friendship, long-term friendship, and everything else that we know about. Anyway, another one I've got. Oh, so many things here.
Oh, that's a lot.
Amanda, we have Amanda with us. Check this. I don't think so. She's someone that signed up, but she's not with us now. She's got the notes at 0 degrees, Aquarius and Leo. And then 29 Scorpio is the ascendant. I was really curious to see this lady. I hope she's going to join us because I wanted to see what 29 Scorpio ascendant looks like. And Taurus descendant obviously is the same degree. And she's got 15 Scorpio as her Venus. So that's another avatar degree. And
or would it be the 14 that is the avatar degree? 14.
I consider, the couple of degrees around that as well. Yeah, the one before
14 or 15.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Donia, I know you don't have sound, but maybe you're with us because you were on the chat box earlier. That's your chart. Here, again, 29 Scorpio. But this is Uranus now. And 0 degrees Capricorn, Venus. Please, that's what. Yeah. Let's see if I've got anything else. Yeah, that's another person that signed up but didn't join. 0 degrees Taurus, we've got Mars. Wayne, that's you. And I think that's pretty much everyone.
And I don't have any of that kind of thing in my chart.
No.
I don't have any 0, any 29.
Yes, that's why your chart is not among these, because I looked, but there wasn't anything.
Exactly. I'm just saying, so that can happen too. But
Yes.
life still goes on.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing to have an anaretic degree. Maybe it makes you a bit more normal and a bit more channeled. It's not that extreme, because But to me, 0 and 29 are points of extremity.
Exactly. They can be very,
Yeah, but
can
maybe
have their
maybe if we have a lot of things going on around the middle of the signs in the chart in general, you know, sometimes you look at the chart and you see a predominant pattern that many of the degrees are around the 20th, for example, around the middle. So if it's around the middle, maybe that gives some sort of stability to the expression of the signs. Just a thought. So which one would you like to look at?
I was interested in looking, when you said, oh, let's see.
Okay, let's do something that of someone that's here. Why don't we look at Jacqueline's chart, for example? She had
Exactly.
Yes,
I think hers was one of the most interesting because
I was thinking that was the one I wanted to see again.
yeah,
Of all,
all right, we got it. So how would you guys approach this if you see it? Like you see these, it's not just the degrees, but what pops out in your mind here?
well, I would say Saturn being on the south node, and also then having this degree, that really pops out to me.
Mm-hmm. So Saturn must be very prominent for at least 2 different reasons. Then let's look at the aspects Saturn is making. Quite a lot of aspects. So not just with the nodes, you also have Saturn square Mars.
Yeah, Moon in Capricorn.
Yes, and the big sextile, you know, the exact sextile with the other anaretic degree with Mercury. And
yes, with the Moon. Yes, I would say that is extremely dominant, and in your way of doing it, the 7th house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plus Aquarius ascendant, Saturn's the old ruler. So Saturn is quite strong. And I can relate to that quite a lot.
I would start on your chart. If I were looking at this chart, I think I'd been inclined to start with Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that.
That's a very good point, Lauren, because we can see how the anaretic degrees can lead us into something when we do interpretation. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I started at a different point with, you know, for every chart I do for someone, I just stare at it until I'm shown where to begin. And to me, just at this moment, looking at it, a Saturn conjunct a south node, that's pretty strong. And then to be in all that formation.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why this table here is showing us quite wide orbs, but I would consider Saturn also in aspect to the Sun and Venus. I don't know if you would.
Yes, yeah, I do.
A whole group of Scorpio planets. And in the same way, what else? Well, we can, is it with, well, we have Uranus at 9 degrees Cancer, and this is 10-degree difference with Uranus. Yeah, which may still be valid. What about the Mercury?
You asking me, or are you asking others to comment?
Anyone, but maybe you would know best. Exactly. Tell us how is Mercury playing out?
I can't link in a whole lot to the however you pronounce it, anaretic degree. I mean, I don't know, but I think I've always heard that it was the accursed degree somewhere along the line, the 29 degrees. We have a guy at the Astrology Club who links into those things a lot. But again, I don't relate to it too much. But I do think Mercury in Scorpio, sextile in the Saturn, I am very, what's the word? I dig too deep with everything, and I do think it is sort of accursed because I can never think that I'm not confident in my knowledge because I'm always dig. And of course, then it also squares to Jupiter, so that makes it even worse. So in a sense, when Edwin used to say, oh, that's at the accursed degree, I could actually relate into it because there's no breaking point. But and of course the Saturn with conjunct the South Node, I feel that I've brought that in from the past, as obviously that's what it's meant to mean. And I am very Saturnian in everything I do. It has to be right or it's not good enough. I'm very responsible. So I can link into all of those things, but you know.
And the symbol I'm looking at for 30 Virgo is totally intent upon completing an immediate task.
Yes.
A man is deaf to any allurement.
Yeah.
The total concentration required for reaching any spiritual goal. So when I see that, plus that Mercury, it just gives, like, that Mercury in Scorpio is going to give that depth and penetration and not giving up, being focused, and you're going to get it. And don't bother me with the details. Let me keep going straight on. And that having a moon in Capricorn too, to me is a big relationship to that too, because you're closing the doors and you're focusing on just you're not a total like me, the Leo moon, just expressing out there. You're very focused and determined.
I am, and I want things done now. Whatever is to be done, I do it now. And my partner's always saying, why does it have to be done now? But it does, because otherwise it goes round and round and round until it's done. So I have to complete things. So in some ways I can see it, for other people, it must drive them around the bend.
But for you, it's perfect. And that's how we get that philosophy of life, is to look at what we chose for ourselves and we accept it as this is the way this is the way my Tinker Toys came together.
I guess you're right.
And to not fight it, but to allow for it to be and use it as your gift.
I think, I hear what you're saying, but it's also very wearing for me. Yes. Because it's like you're driven to complete. And when I say that, I don't mean completing. It annoys me when I don't complete things. Yes. And like, for instance, astrology, I should have completed, but I never have because of too many other things to complete, if you see what I mean.
Incomplete. How could you complete that? Ever?
Yeah, well, you can never complete astrology, but there are things that, to me, I should have gone on and completed what I started where I didn't. So I just dabble. So that will never be a satisfaction to me. And it's the same with anything. I want it done. But then again, I guess that's Capricorn. Capricorn's always looking to achieve something. It's always there trying to manifest a goal at the end of the day, or achieve a goal at the end of the day.
But Mercury is an agent above the moon and the Saturn, because it's right in the middle and it's sextiling both sides. So Mercury is such an agent to this persistence that you're showing. Even you haven't missed a week since you joined us. And I can see how
I start something and I start something I don't. And I think that also comes from parental things. So we don't start something, you're not going to finish it. So I guess and also Capricorn moon, I'm guilt-ridden. I would be guilt-ridden, like, oh, well, I didn't finish that. I should have, and all that rubbish sort of thing. Which at my age now, I can think, a lot of that was rubbish, but your nature is your nature, and so you continue to do it. I continue to do it. So perhaps
my mother's expression, never put off for tomorrow what you can do today.
Yeah, that's right.
That runs through me a lot.
Would there be another side of your personality who would be a bit like a trickster or a joker?
Are you talking about the Gemini I see?
No.
I don't know. I'm too serious, so I don't think I would be that, but maybe I am and don't recognize it.
I'm asking actually because of the Sabian symbol of this Mercury, which I just checked, which shows children in Carnival, having fun. So that's the kind of energy under pressure, having a way to be released. Something like that.
I think I should be having more fun. I think I'm too serious. I just said I'm too serious. I'm too serious. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Maybe
why you've got the North Node in Pisces in the first house. Relax, let go. Don't be a perfectionist and so on. That's always going to be for the good, isn't it?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be afraid of the Pisces. It's not going to lead you into trouble.
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid of the Pisces, but I just sort of, I don't know why. I'm just, I can't answer it. I don't know. Yeah. I've also, with the moon in the 12th house, there's a big Pisces feel to that as well. So I am very Piscean, and maybe, sort of, I'm a bit of a dreamer at times. And I like a bit of escapism. I love cinema. I love television, sort of dramas and things like that. So I do link into that.
Astrology. I see that astrology is very Piscean. If you can't expand your mind with a floatedness, then astrology wouldn't appeal to you. But it's astrology that is so really, I think it's very, you have to hold a big picture. and that picture includes a lot of things.
Could you read to us the Sabian symbol for the 29th Scorpio? Because I just realized something. It's to do with Halloween, not just any carnival.
Yeah, I have it in French. So they say Mardi Gras, which is during.
It's just I wanted to show you something which I just realized as you were speaking. That this one is children in Halloween costumes, including
indulging in various pranks.
They're doing all various. The symbol itself, it's slightly differently written in different places, but it's the fact that it's speaking about Halloween, which is the last day of Scorpio. Well, not the last day of Scorpio, the last day of October. Yeah. And the Sabian symbols, when they were written, I don't know if you guys know the history of how they came along. They were totally randomly assigned to the degrees of the zodiac. And I find something repetitive here, the last degree of Scorpio and the last day of October being related to this symbol. Anyway, I thought it's...
Yeah, what's curious is in my version, which is in French, it's not Halloween, it's Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is just before Lent. It's in February or March.
Really? So that's strange because the symbols are in their nature American, because they were kind of a product of American, how can I say, setting. And
yeah,
so people have a lot of fun wherever I've lived for Halloween, and I always participate. But
no, it's the idea of what is celebrated on Halloween. That was my point.
It furnishes, but it says the periodic outlets society furnishes within traditional limits, and this I don't like, to still immature energies, because that feels judgmental. But still, I like the idea that there are periodic outlets to have fun and be zany and wild and wear a costume you wouldn't normally and wear masks and color your hair and color your face and things like that, just that traditionally wouldn't, in a normal day you wouldn't do. A lot of people say, well, why don't we wear costumes every day of the year? It would be so much more fun.
In that respect, I would have fun in that way. I always participate wherever I go. I'll get up, I'll dance. I'm into fun in that way. But as a general rule, I am quite serious. So yeah, I see what you're saying, Jean-Marc. With that degree, yes, I can be perhaps not a prankster, but I do enjoy fun and I will involve myself. I will dress up for fancy dress parties. I will actually get completely into the swing of things, but I'm not into the
That's a good thing. That to me is the Piscean part too. that in your chart of balancing your strong Capricornian or energetic Saturnian energetic, that this life, though, any opportunity you have, astrology, dress up, play, it's good. It's a nice balance.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, have you explored your Sabian symbol for your North Node?
No, I've never actually really looked at Sabian symbols at all. I must actually do that, have a look and see. But to be honest, when I have looked at, not properly looked at them, but when I've skipped over them before, they've never meant an awful lot. Again, probably the serious side. To me, I'm looking at something and it's maybe it's too deep. I don't know. But no, I haven't. So I will have a look and see what is the Sabian symbol for the...
It's 27 Pisces. Is that what I'm seeing? 27 Pisces?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can read it to you. It says, the harvest moon illumines a clear autumnal sky, the light of fulfillment that blesses work well done.
Yeah.
So it's the full autumn moon.
Right.
Keyword is consummation. But in this consummation, this karmic moment, the seed of the new cyclic manifestation is already latent.
Yes.
It actually, if I'm truthful, it doesn't mean a lot to me. I'm obviously missing something, you know.
Well, the symbols have to be, I think, contemplated in our own time, isn't it?
Yeah,
relaxed and visualize them. We're a bit more stressed out at the moment, and I think I have something in common with you, Jacqueline. Of this, when we are in a session like this or something like that, I'm too concentrated in the information, and I can't relax. This is a typical Piscean problem. And if you have the North Node in Pisces, it's very normal to not be able to be naturally Piscean. You have to connect with that consciously when you can, when you have the moment, when you have the peace, and so on. It cannot be rushed into you, because what for other people that are more naturally intuitive in the Piscean way just comes like this. For people like us, it's a bit more of a struggle.
Yeah.
Could I come in with something, please?
Of course.
I'm just kind of observing the opposites between the Saturnian needing and wanting and being probably very good at boundaries, as opposed to the Pisces, which is very good at no boundaries. And I was just wondering whether in your character, Jacqueline, you've discovered or are aware of the, maybe kind of wanting to keep the boundaries, but also finding it difficult with things that have no boundaries.
Yeah, I can very much relate to keeping the boundaries, but I also can go where I have no boundaries. I also find sometimes I can be, and the boundary between me and others, it's like you
can't take it away.
How can I explain it? It's as though I can't keep that boundary there. It's as though I feel what they're feeling.
You merge.
I merge into someone else.
The merging can be quite frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wondering about that kind of opposites, because merging can be frightening. I mean, I've got strong Pisces, so I'm kind of very, very aware of that. And because you can lose yourself.
It was hard for me. For example, I have Mercury in my first house in Pisces, retrograde. And so it's great for music, but it was very hard for me to get a sense of who I was, because I could read everybody's mind and I could blend so much with everybody.
Exactly.
It was hard to know who I was.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I've got,
Yes.
yeah, I've got Neptune in the first house, almost on my ascendant. So, you know, I merge very easily, but also, so I kind of can relate to this.
Yeah.
Your chart, Simona, isn't it?
Sorry?
This is your chart, the one we're looking at.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you have Mercury in Pisces exactly on the descendant.
Yeah.
And that can be counted as an anaretic degree if we want to. You know, many astrologers are including the 28th. Even there is this discussion: is it not actually the 28th? Because in the 28th we feel the pressure of the change, of the ending. And the very last degree, some say we're already ready to move forward. We're already ready to close the door. Well, the 28th is really a crisis point, which is actually in fact 28 point something. So here is your Mercury in 28 Pisces, which
Yeah.
and you have that in a semi-sextile to the Venus in 29 Aries.
Yeah.
So 29 Aries is almost exactly opposite the 0 Scorpio. Yeah.
Okay.
Even though it's out of sign, it's only 1 degree orb. So that's how we've got this T-square here. Anyway, I think you all can see that.
I was thinking about how astrology as a topic is so Aquarian, because it gives every single person a way to grab onto the circle of humanity, because you can see yourself in the whole, and each of us can participate equally. Maybe not verbally express it, but somehow there's something about astrology and looking at everything that is such an Aquarian activity.
Indeed, yes. That's why we saw so many astrologers that Dwayne showed us with Pallas Athena in Aquarius, in anaretic, stuff like that.
I should go find out where mine is. I'm not quite sure. I've never paid attention to it.
So, Simona, anything interesting around your Venus that you...
Anything interesting?
Around the Venus placement?
Well, yes, I mean, there are lots of interesting things. But I mean, it certainly has been recently very much under focus because of the various transits. But certainly, to do with more with finances than, things like that.
Well, that's expected to be expected in the 8th house. Are you involved in any special, I don't know, business relationships with other people, or part of organizations or partnerships or something like that?
No. On the contrary, there's an aridity around that at the moment.
But do you
have to do with
Sorry?
Does it have to do with the way you see yourself as a woman?
I think it's probably a lot to do with that, actually. It's a lot to do with feeling unloved or feeling unappreciated. There's something like that. There's something around that. And it's kind of cyclic. So it's kind of been going on for a little while. Yeah, so that's something like that.
Because you mentioned finance, that's why I was thinking if you have any trouble with anything that you're mixing your finances with other people's finances or something like that.
Well, I have in the past, but I've withdrawn them deliberately because I was afraid of losing them. Yeah, so now I've kind of for the little that I've got, I've kind of retrieved it, and actually, in one way, it's related to my house and to where I live. And I've tried to sell it, but I can't sell it. So it's kind of the strange kind of thing going on there. So I'm having to sit where I am and kind of rethink this Venus. So I'm at the moment in a situation where I'm trying to find out more about it and how to use it more creatively, more constructively, you know, find a new way of relating with it. And of course, that also has to do with my age, you know, being in a later part of my life, to actually pick myself up again and start all over again, if that makes sense. And that's also not only financially, but also relationship-wise.
Right. Well, it totally makes sense when we look at what the transition between which signs is that transition between Aries and Taurus. So it's almost like the Venus is trying to leave behind a more rush existence, a more like energetic, or maybe making decisions quickly without everything we can think of typical Aries behavior, and move towards a more grounded approach, a more building things approach. Secure rather than risking, these sort of things.
And if I could say, if I were, you know, if this had come to me or something, I would see how your Venus is kind of has all the squares and the oppositions and so forth. So I would look to the moon in Taurus, feeling comfortable, you know, that sense of what the feeling you have when you are settled and have a home and have your material nurturing, and how that's aspected well to your Saturn, and that has the quincunx down to your Chiron, that there's some sort of important healing with that.
Yes, that does make sense. Absolutely. And I've had to kind of work on that recently very, very much. Indeed. It makes complete sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say, if you're pondering, contemplate the blue lines for your flow and for your ease, to help get you out of some of the stuck places. That's
yeah.
Well,
I'm almost
sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's almost as if I'm being pushed into doing that, because nothing else works.
Well, you've got Pluto exactly opposite your Mars, haven't you, at the moment? So there's a lot of changes around there.
You're telling me. I know.
I know.
I think that's where I'm very aware of that, and I suppose I can't wait for that to kind of change, to see what happens.
Yeah, I know the feeling exactly.
Because I've had this Mars Saturn really being completely, you know, it's being smashed in all kinds of direction in the last few years.
Yeah.
So kind of, you know, I'm just waiting.
Do you connect that with the home-related issues because they're in Cancer and it's Mars Saturn?
Completely. So it's like kind of, I mean, if you're talking about dismemberment, I've definitely gone through it. So, you know, all I can say is, well, let's see what I've learned from it. You know,
maybe this Venus was some sort of a detriment. The strategy of your Venus, the way it was acting, the way it was planning things or choosing things, you know, it's square the Mars Saturn. So just to me, it seems like your Venus is trying to get off the grip of the Sun in Aries and towards the Moon in Taurus. Kind of now make a choice. Am I going to stay with the Sun and keep being Aries and squaring the Mars Saturn, or shall I move on to the Moon? Something like this. I don't know.
Yes, I like that. I like that very much, that feels very, very comfortable.
Is
That's
it
right.
Uranus coming to the moon soon? Maybe not straight away, but in a year or two, something like
Sorry, what?
Yeah, Uranus.
that. The transiting Uranus.
Yes, it is. You're right.
Mm.
So you think that that can, well, give it an opportunity to kind of change or
Possibly.
yeah.
22, it'll get to 18.
2022.
Yeah.
2022. Okay. Yeah. Well,
It's like a long way away, but you know.
It
well,
goes
no.
quickly.
Life goes on. Yeah. No, that is helpful indeed.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
You also have your nodal return right now, so that's important. So maybe the whole process is already starting.
Yeah. You mean that's right. That's
No,
in Gemini.
Yeah, you've got the same nodes as the current nodes, and pretty much in the same degrees as they are now. I don't remember exactly what degree they were right now, but they're around the 20th degree of the signs. So you are going for your return.
Yeah, they are at 20.
Yeah.
What degree are they?
20 Gemini.
20 Gemini at the moment.
Mm.
Well, I've got
Gemini
this.
and Sagittarius.
And Sagittarius, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, interesting example. That was a great example. Thank you, Simona.
Thank you.
How we are with time. I always forget about the break. Would you guys want a quick break of 5 minutes? So
I do need to have a break.
Yeah.
of 5
Yes.
minutes.
okay,
Yeah.
after the break, we'll continue. For another 40 minutes we have.
Okay.
See you soon.
And I'm just thinking, anoretic in the way that we've been using it here is all about the final stages of a cycle.
Right.
And then we see Gandhi as what is the Mahatma means great soul. And this kind of, I don't know, completion of a life of a in a big way.
He
I don't
affected
know.
so many lives with what he did.
So many. And there it is. Oh, it looks, is it conjunct Chiron? No, it's pretty wide there.
Chiron is the second degree of Aries. I don't know how much we can take out just one thing as we spoke before, but yes, we are. What are we expecting in general from this anoretic degree? A transition of some sort, isn't it? That's the main point behind it.
Yes.
The heart, they say Bardo point. This moment just before the new thing has begun, but the old one hasn't ended yet, and the confusion around this. So this happens at the boundary of every two signs, if we look at the Zodiac. And so I think the idea is that if we're born with 29 or 1 or 0 of any planet or point or asteroid or whatever it is we're talking about, then we can expect that feeling of confusion and urgency and change as well. Reevaluation of the previous sign and getting to know the new one. Eagerness to explore the new one in the 0 degrees. It's just extra emotional there, isn't it? Very, very much more energized. And so maybe that's why people are attracted to pay more attention to the function, say a planet, that happens to be in such a degree. So that's why they overexpose it and they overuse it. I think we didn't also stress enough of this importance of the degree itself, any degree. That it's not just one part of the zodiac, but it's, as Rudyard was saying, the Earth around its axis is like the personal part of this. The zodiac is the universal matrix, the collective. So it's the mixing between the personal and the collective. So that's why analyzing the Sabian symbols or the degrees of our chart, of the things in our chart, could give us an idea of how we can participate in the big picture in a more specific way. So Venus in first house Scorpio, 17th degree. So we've got so many different pieces of information that Venus is in Scorpio, that is in the first house. But then when we add the degree to the Sabian symbol to that, that's where things become more specific for what this person is meant to do with their Venus. I don't know. It is that's the way I see it. Oh, Dwayne, what do you think is interesting in that chart in terms of the anaretic degrees? Not just because he was a personage of completion and consolidation, but it's Palason, isn't it? Is there anything else that's let me see.
I immediately thought when I saw his life of service to humanity, and having the Pallas Athena, the wisdom pinnacle, having in this Piscean cosmic consciousness, and then the Chiron having at the first degree of Aries, having to initiate something of the collective wound and serving our collective wound through action in the Chiron first degree, and then the Pisces having the Pallas Athena having come through, and all in the house of the sixth house of service, where action would be necessary to heal this wound that he's experienced through that Pallas Athena.
That's his life's work.
Yeah. I mean, I look at that as being very, the first thing I was drawn to in his chart was the Chiron with the Pallas Athena, and the difference of that the wound needed an action in this lifetime. And it was the action in Aries, being the pioneer, the first one to do it, that you see what needs to be done through the Pisces, but you act upon the Aries, and it's for the sake of service to mankind.
But also the sun in the 12th has got a Pisces feel to it as well, hasn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And it's not just any final degree, but it's the final degree of the final sign.
Yeah.
Extra added effect, because 0 degrees Aries is probably we can claim that this is more of a beginning point than the rest of them, because that combines the symbolic equinox and the new cycle beginning of the zodiac. This is the natural start of the zodiac and the natural end of the zodiac. 29.
Also, the sun being in the 12th at this lifetime would not be about his own personhood, but for the service of humanity to heal this collective wound of that needed action, and that he would have to, and I even see how the Neptune in Aries is a subduing energy on Aries, because you don't just think of the self, but you think again of the collective.
Yeah, and
I heard a thing last night, Neptune in Aries, self-sacrificing.
Yeah, that's a good phrase, isn't it? So
yeah.
I'm thinking he may have
someone else. Yeah.
What?
Because of the grand trine in the moon with Neptune and with Saturn, it seems like, and they are in the 3 earth houses. So I was like wanting to do that work, enjoying doing that work, feeling like it's natural to do that work. Well, the pressure is coming from elsewhere, from the Scorpio Taurus side of things. That's where the difficulties were, I think, experienced. Maybe he paid a very high price in his personal life, first house against 7th house, to do the work, and the work was not the hardest thing, the hardest burden. That was more of a gift for him, I guess. Even though I don't know almost anything about his life, but I feel like it was really a self-sacrifice, as you said, Beryl.
Yeah, that's what. Well, I could see that when this astrologer said this last night, I could actually see Neptune and Aries as being self-sacrificing.
Yes, and it's not just Neptune somewhere, because Neptune is generational, but his Neptune is speaking to the moon, the sun, to many things actually. But yeah,
and it's in the 6th as well.
Yes,
so it's like his work, isn't it?
This is more like a mission of self-giving
Yeah.
without necessarily looking for those material returns or position,
Yeah.
whatever. But the three earth houses here are interconnected. Whatever
And
happens in one of the
all
earth
of it makes so much sense knowing Gandhi's life to have the moon in the 10th house. I have moon in Leo myself. It's the ability to express yourself easily, and to have North Node there as well. Then it's also that his destiny would be towards an outward expression. His work would be towards humanity, as well as that the part of fortune in the 11th house there would be towards humanity again, that's where he would feel happy when he's serving all of humanity. He took on the hugest picture that he could possibly take on in his region. He affected the entire world because we all looked to India's liberation, and we still all reflect to what it is to come out from under the rule of, at that point it was the British that were ruling India. And what he did I love the movie Gandhi, of course. I'm very informed by movies that are like that. And of course I love, wasn't it Ben Kingsley who played it?
It was, yeah, it was.
And I just adore him.
Great movie. Yeah.
Great.
Does anybody know his background, in the sense, had he a family? Did he? Yeah.
Yes, he had a family. He had a wife.
Oh.
He sacrificed basically the family for his mission was so strong, and
right.
he was a great orator in Leo.
Yeah.
So Uranus in Cancer, breaking free from the family.
Say that again.
Uranus in Cancer, breaking free from the family.
I have that too.
So am I. But I was thinking more of the Pluto Jupiter in the 7th house. How did that affect his relationships? That must have been, Pluto in the 7th house can be someone who has a great feel for relationships, but if they get hurt through them, they're finished. That they end the relationship in a way, and it's like he gave his to humanity. So I'm wondering, did the relationship with his wife and family work?
Yes.
Or it did. Oh, right. Okay.
Yes. She had to, of course, sacrifice her husband.
Yeah.
I was sort of trying to express that. Yeah. It worked for her, but they were on the same team but it was scary for her.
Right.
That's going by the movie.
Yeah. Well, that's all I would go by as well.
My great fact.
Lauren, I'm interested. I believe you have a Venus-Mars conjunction, do you know?
I do. I have a Venus-Mars conjunction. I have a Uranus in Cancer. I have a moon in Leo. I have my sun in Aries. I have a grand trine in fire. Your
chart is very similar really to his, but kind of mirror image somehow, especially the Venus-Mars conjunction.
I saw that. The first thing I thought, wow, someone else suffers that or loves that. What I always thought of Venus-Mars conjunction is you're both man and woman in my being. I feel I'm both a man and a woman in one body.
This is the divine androgen.
Yeah.
Yes, but you have the opposite nodes to him.
Oh, let's see. Yes.
And
yes.
She also has a way with words, hasn't she?
And if anything, I ask Radalina regularly, do I speak up too much? Because it's so.
No, I wasn't meaning that. I was meaning it more in a creative way. I was meaning it more in the creative way of being able to relate to people.
Yes, but
to make people feel comfortable.
I don't even think about it. It's just I get an insight and I feel kind of compelled to express it. Not because I want people to think I'm so smart or good, but because I want to help.
Yeah, I realize that.
Maybe Gandhi had the opposite problem, Lauren. Maybe he was with the South Node right at the bottom of the chart in Aquarius, maybe I'm just thinking, looking at that chart, this guy was waiting to be born again with this chart so he can complete something that before he was like knowing something or seeing injustice or whatever, but he wasn't taught because he was hidden somewhere down in the fourth house. And this lifetime was about emerging out in the public, getting people,
Yeah.
making an impact. Leo in the 10th house. So before he was like the smart one behind the scenes, but without any power. Now he was meant to become. That's why the mission was so compulsive, and that's why other things in life had to be sacrificed with these T-squares to the moon to satisfy the Leo North Node. And yeah, anyway.
Maybe
So
he
what I
had to
thought
come from
was
being
an
part
idea
of a
for
crowd.
Maybe
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Part of a crowd to the to the center of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one of
maybe
the
there was-
ideas I have for next week, which could be
Yes.
interesting,
Sure.
is sort of inspired by this moment, is that we could each pick someone in that we've been attracted to, that we've never seen their chart before, or if maybe we have seen it before, attracted to in that's known, and to present to look at it and point something, a limited time to point something out about a person that's either, I don't have too many icons or people like that, but if we each had somebody that we could look at that might and present it, like this Gandhi thing, it brings to all of us, we all knew him, and to just look at how it manifests the chart to the person, not detailed, but just an overview, like a
So-
10-minute maybe.
Why don't we call it chart interpretation in practice?
Yes,
It's like
of somebody that we want to. I mean, don't you think it should try to be somebody that other people know about as
No,
well?
I just wanted to clarify what I have in mind. To be a known person, relatively known, doesn't need to be somebody
Right.
extremely famous, but at least part of the group to be able to recognize them. Yeah. Or if not, if it's a bit of a prominent person but not that well known, you can give a little bit of background to explain who he is and why.
Like, I forget why I did Lauren Bacall at one point.
Yes, like that.
What was the reason we did that session?
It was we were looking at prominent personalities with culminating planets around the MC.
Oh yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yes. Now we make it more general
Oh.
and just say, okay, that's the rules of the game. The rules of the game is 10 minutes per person, or let's say up to 15 if it's really something very more complicated to explain. 10 to 15 minutes. The only thing I would like to ask you is if you can drop me a very quick line during the week and say, yes, I'm planning to do this. Yes, I would like to do that. I don't need to know who you have chosen, what chart or whatever, just so that I have a rough number of people in my head that would be doing this, to see how to distribute it over the time of the.
Well, I don't think it hurts when we know to pass you the person and the information.
Yes, that would be even better.
You can have it ready on the screen.
Sure, it will be even better, but don't feel obliged, because you may want to use your own system, your own, if you're using a software that you prefer and you want to share your screen, you can share your screen. But if you want me to share it, just send me everything and I'll do that.
Brent, yeah.
So it's someone that we're attracted to, or that we have an infinity with them. So, we
somehow admire, and then we can, but we've never really taken the time to look at their chart.
But it could be the opposite. It could be somebody extremely notorious. Extremely notorious. Jacqueline, we are Scorpios. We're more likely to find somebody that's a bit dark. A dark personality.
I've got Scorpio rising.
I wouldn't necessarily admire them, but maybe we want to point out why, maybe, where the sinister bit came from.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm very dark, Radalina. I love crime. I am so much into crime programs and all that sort of thing. I am very dark.
The ultimate investigator with that Mercury, I would suggest. But
yeah. Oh, I love investigating and I love researching and I love things like that. But
that's where Saturn.
I wish Saturn would take a run. I wish he would run away. Maybe in the next lifetime.
Well, consider that next week thing as a way to show your approach to chart reading. Because I'm not going to interrupt you. You know, you can all show us what you would do with the chart if you have to say something about that chart. Yeah, what you would pick from it.
And for me, it's whatever I pick up from the chart. I'm more like let the chart speak to me first.
Oh, fine, whatever it is. I mean, you can explain it when you do the chart. But my point is, just feel. I know 15 minutes is very short time for a proper interpretation of a chart, but still.
No, it can't be much longer if we're all going to have an opportunity to do so.
Maybe I should suggest something like 10 minutes you present the chart, and then 5-10 minutes we speak, questions or maybe discuss it, because other people would also probably want to have a say on that same chart. And then we move to the next.
Mahatma Gandhi right here is that we're all participating by what we see, and we then collectively bring out things to each other the other one might not have noted.
Yes, and what I suggest we do is next time, when it is 5:30, like my time 5:30, when we start, I'll only wait for like 5 minutes, and I'll put on my chosen chart straight away, so we don't waste any time. I'll go straight away with it. People can come in the meantime, and then we don't do any introductions, we don't do anything like that. We just do a workshop next time. Yeah,
it'd be fun.
Remember, we were having this idea of every month having a free like questions and answers or something like this. So we can do maybe something like that, a variation of that every month.
And we'll probably know who the United States president is by then.
Yeah.
So that's why maybe it's a good idea if people tell me whose chart they're going to be choosing, because I don't want to be like 5 of you chose Biden and 5 of you chose Trump. And then it doesn't make any sense. Yes. No, that may be fun as well. I was having a hard time with Mercury changing direction the other night. I couldn't sleep until I don't know what time, and it was exactly when your elections had started. And I've got no interest, like who wins. I've got my opinion, but I'm not that much emotionally into it. But I thought, okay, in order to help myself come to sleep, I opened the charts of the 2 candidates, and I wanted to check their current transits and stuff. Yeah. And I don't know why my conclusion was that things are not going to run well for Donald Trump. So I went to sleep eventually. I dreamt he was going to lose it. And then I wake up in the morning and people were saying, no, he's winning. So I don't know. I know there is nothing final there.
Right now, it's going towards Biden.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know.
But anyway, and for us in the United States, it is a big deal because
I think for everybody it's a big deal.
Yeah,
I think it's going to have a big influence all around.
Absolutely. Exactly. I
just didn't want to turn it into a political
I know. Okay.
But but it was more for the point of astrology. It was interesting that how much we can intuit about what's not that much what's going to happen, but I definitely find Trump's chart extremely interesting at the moment. Not the chart itself, but at the moment there are so many things about it that are like joining together at the same time. That something important around this guy is definitely going to turn around. Maybe it will be a big disappointment for him, and he would need to change his ways, and he would need to rethink his whole life, kind of thing, or maybe something else. I don't know exactly what direction that would be, but his chart is extremely important. Yeah, maybe important as well for most people.
But also, isn't it so that America is going to have its Pluto return?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. So
isn't that me an idea, Simone? I'm sorry to talk to you.
I mean, for me, I'm not American, but I'm really interested in this election because I'm very aware that possibly the person who's going to carry that maybe burden or whatever, who's going to help that, facilitate that, who's going to be landed with a Pluto return, is going to be the next president. And personally, I think Biden has more qualities for that. But then, because he's got...
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I'm just keeping very open.
Yes,
but
yes.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting, you know.
You gave me a great idea. I don't know if you guys would agree with this, but I think I have chosen my chart for next week. And
Okay.
that's the Sibley chart of the United States. Not a problem.
Ah,
I
yes.
put it on for discussion for the first minutes while we're gathering. So you guys can just come in and start talking about it with others, or I can join in as well and say something. But let's just be observing the Sibley chart with the transits and progressions. Just like that while we are preparing for the proper discussion later.
Okay.
Shall we?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Looking forward. Very much looking forward to next week.
Okay.
We have another 5 minutes. Any questions? Anything else?
Let's have a look.
I feel complete. I feel complete.
Enough for today.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
some days we go over, some days let's go under.
All right. We don't need to be such a, we don't need to be, Jacqueline, I hope you don't mind. We're not going to follow the rule book at the moment.
No, not at all, not at
We're
all.
not going to complete.
Actually, help me break the mold.
Yes.
Help me break the mold.
Yes, we are finishing 5 minutes early. So we're finishing at the anoretic degree.
Okay.
I can get my dinner now, so I'm quite happy with that.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful week. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.